Oh no! I have a pending alert, apparently. I have a new item. Oh, look, a box. Let me just immediately delete that. So, you guys ready? Hoping it's not medic today. We're gonna see how it's gonna go. Let's find out. Oh, it's loud! I keep fucking not turning it down. Odd Soldier. As a brief reminder as to what these tiers mean, broken needs a nerf/rework, means that it's so good that it needs some kind of a nerf because it's broken. It needs something to tone it down. A is the best, B is good, C is middle of the road, pretty alright, D is bad, E is really bad. Broken, in that it's bad or needs a rework, means that the weapon is so bad in either that it's buggy or it's broken and that it actually does not work, and therefore it needs some kind of an adjustment in order to make it actually usable. You get to pick the first one, whichever one I see the most of. Airstrike, Airstrike, Black Box, Equalizer, Airstrike, Airstrike, Airstrike. But let's get the Airstrike out of the way first. I made an entire video about this weapon because it is hideously fun to play with, but it is just so lackluster whenever you decide to use it properly that it's just really underwhelming in comparison to any other rocket launcher. The main thing I don't like about this weapon is that it's hideously counterintuitive, right? This is the weapon that encourages you to rocket jump in order to get a faster firing speed. So you can do like a carpet bombing thing or do like a really powerful bomb in on one or multiple targets with multiple rockets and do a lot of damage, right? But at every turn, this thing screws you over when you do rocket jump. It already has a smaller blast radius and a damage penalty, but then when you rocket jump, your blast radius is reduced even further. So your already weaker rockets end up doing even less damage unless they're really fucking close to your target. And most of the time, at least from my experience, whenever you fire off a volley of rockets, a vast majority of them tend to not make their mark unless it's on a slow or stationary target. And that's something else I don't like about this weapon. This weapon encourages you to jump into the air, up into the air, and then fire down on your enemy. But you have fall-off damage, right? You have damage fall-off, so you propel yourself in the air, which just increases your distance from your target, meaning that you have more damage fall-off between yourself and your target. So the only really effective way to use this weapon is to basically suicide bomb in onto one or more targets so you can get rid of that damage fall-off and potentially secure more direct hits with those rockets. And the weapon does facilitate that to some extent with the reduced, self-damage on rocket jumps, but what is it, like 15%, I think is what it is? Yeah, it's only 15%, and a 15% reduction in damage to, like, reducing yourself by a quarter of your health on a rocket jump, that still brings you down to, like, 168 health, or, like, 173 health. It's not that significant of a difference. So the self-damage on this thing is still really bad unless you pair it with the gunboats. Yeah, and also, you have to build up your clip with more rockets in order to make those rocket jump bombs worthwhile, right? Yeah, you can, use one rocket to rocket jump and then volley in with 3 more rockets, but the reduced damage and the damage fall off and the even further reduced blast radius on rocket jumping just makes those 3 rockets really weaker. So you have to have some ground play time in order to build up that clip size so those bombs become more effective when you do actually rocket jump. But then the problem with that is that you're just always playing with weaker rockets. So it's even harder to get that clip size up, which I think that's at least the most balanced part about this weapon, is that it can be really powerful with jumping, but you're weaker on the ground at all times, which is definitely what it needs. And it's just those 2 small things that hold it back. It's that reduced blast radius while jumping, and then the self-damage that you take when you do rocket jump with this item, meaning that you cannot pair it with any other secondary and have a viable loadout that really holds this weapon back from being on par with the other rocket launchers. So you know what? I'm gonna actually bump it down. I'm gonna bump it in C tier because it's good, like you can play well with this thing, but the amount of effort it takes to get yourself to that level in a life with a higher clip size and then continuously having to sacrifice your own health and risk your own life to continuously pull off bombs onto the enemy team to do that enhanced damage with that faster firing rate and that enhanced clip size completely just tears this thing down, right? It doesn't have enough for me to always want to sacrifice more powerful rocket launchers in exchange for this thing. Would assists counting towards that clip size increase help or not? I know, because it's very easy for Soldier to get an assist because of splash damage, right? It would make it too powerful, right? You could land one well-placed rocket inside of a group of people, and then a demo man could follow with like one pipe and then kill everybody you just damaged. And then that's like, what, 3 assists? And you automatically have 3 rockets in your clip? No, that'd be too strong. If they were to change nothing else about this item, I think potentially an interesting change would be to make other weapons count towards the kill counter on the airstrike from either your secondary or your melee. At least at that point, you have a reason to use your secondary or your melee with this thing. And then that would enhance your ground play. Because now that you have more rockets in your clip being able to be built up by other weapons, okay, yeah, I have all around weaker rockets, but I can still have more chances to fire them off. Faster reloading, that's something I mentioned as well, because once you deplete your entire clip size, you have to wait a really long time in order to be able to pull off the bomb again. Like, if you have all 8 rockets at your disposal, you fire them all up, you're like, fuck, I'm just fucking cramming these things in there. Like, there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, you're spending like 20 seconds just shoving rockets back in this thing. However, I did mention, I think I mentioned in the video that I made that a boost in reload speed wouldn't be a bad idea. I actually changed my mind now. I do think that's a bad idea, because a very important balancing aspect for Soldier, and especially for this weapon, is the longer reload time, because Soldier very much is the burst damage class. And the burst damage classes in this game are very much either balanced by bullet spread or reload time, except for sniper. Therefore, if you were to increase the reload time, or sorry, if you were to decrease the reload time on this weapon, it would make it really fucking strong. So I don't think putting a faster reload speed on this thing is a good idea. What if banners were a separate slot so that you could have both a shoddy and a banner? That would be broken. Or a horrifically broken idea. Being able to have a primary, a secondary, and only having to sacrifice your melee for a banner. Banners being the most influential items in the game, aside from a medigun or a sniper rifle, that would be hideously overpowered. Oh yeah, primary, gunboats, and banner, that would be fucked. Well, yeah, Soldier's pretty strong as is. He doesn't need any kind of significant buff. I would say right now in TF2, alongside the demo man, he's one of the most balanced classes in the, I would say a vast majority of things in TF2 are a very good spot right now, balance-wise. We have very few outliers from the well-balanced baseline that are actually problems in the game right now. Most things in TF2 are pretty much fine. You know what, let's do the battalions. Let's knock out the other weapon that I made a video about. Let's do battalions. I still firmly hold myself by the opinion that the battalion's backup is the best item in the game. It is insanely good, and it's incredibly well balanced for what it does. After you deal 600 damage, this weapon turns off crits, it turns off mini crits, and it gives you a 35% damage resistance against all damage sources. Oh, also it gives you the passive buff of 20 health, which is what this item and what all banners I think really need is some kind of a passive bonus in order for it to be like worthwhile using. But the lovely thing about the battalion's backup is that it is the most team-oriented weapon, and it's the most powerful, because this is the only weapon, or I keep calling it a weapon, this is the only banner whose passive bonus doesn't require for your teammates to be able to land shots. With the Concheror, you have to land shots to get health back. You get the speed buff, but that's it. You have the buff banner, which gives you mini crits, but you have to be able to land shots in order to make those mini crits worthwhile. With this, you just have to be near the soldier and you get all these amazing passive buffs. Also, yeah, it doubles your health against sentry guns. Totally forgot about that. 50% damage resistance against sentry guns, which is really fucking good. Comp players, especially Bandy, want the battalion's backup nerfed because of how much damage it negates despite the soldier already sacrificing a shotgun and gunboat. Sixes is a very close, tight-knit thing where you have a cluster of 6 players always engaging another cluster of 6 players. If you have this tight cluster of 6 players, all of them suddenly not being able to take as much damage as everybody else against these guys are already at an automatic disadvantage, and these guys can just roll over them. And they can't be countered with something like crits or a sniper. Yeah, in competitive 6v6, I can understand why they don't like it. But inside of casual and the chaotic sphere that is like normal 24-man servers, people are usually so spread out and doing their own thing and almost never come together to form like an actual coordinated team push. And even then, you have not the entire 12-man team being affected by this banner, still having to go up against the entire other 12-man team. In casual mode, the higher player count and the variety of classes and damage sources and damage types and spies, which can turn this thing off in an instant, balance this thing out. And that's the thing too. The counter to this item is just pure focus fire. If you're going up against a 12-man team, right, you have 4 players being affected by this banner and you're trying to push into a sentry gun and like 6 other players, they can focus fire you down and still fucking kill you. 2 more things about this item too. Crit Skrig, the Crit Skrig in TF2, whenever, let's say, you activate it on a heavy, there are very few counters to that. Because if you're critting a heavy and he's hanging back and there isn't a sniper to just one-shot him, then he's going to be able to lay waste to the entire team because, you know, across the map crit hit scan is really fucking powerful. The Battalions is a nice counter to that. It's a counter to Sniper, which I will always firmly stand by. I think Sniper is broken and needs a nerf. Counter Sniper, which is fucking great because if you have some god tier sniper on the enemy team that's just melting through all your teammates because he's pumped 5,000 hours into the class, and to him, he's just clicking pixels, right? He's not having to worry about anything else but clicking on heads. You can fuck him over with this thing so your team actually has a chance. And all of it's balanced by the fact you don't have a secondary item that deals damage, and you have to deal 600 damage with pretty much only your primary weapon. Which, unless you're directly in someone's face, shooting a rocket down their throat with your hitbox like fucking their hitbox, and you taking self-damage, it's gonna take a little while. My favorite Battalion's moment is denying Comtar with crit mechs. Yes, dude, honestly, I agree. One of the most satisfying things you can do with this item is to fuck over a guy with a fucking crit medic living inside of his rectum. If you come across, you know, Blaze the demo main, if they have a medic living in their ass running crits, you can fuck them over hard with this thing. It's fucking great. Oh, it's not balanced in competitive, guys. Oh, we have to know, it's not balanced in competitive. We have to nerf it. Ugh. God forbid our sandbox game mode doesn't facilitate the existence of all items in a heavily complex game designed around 9 classes and not 5. 4. Scout, Demo, Soldier, Medic. If you still haven't tried the Battalion's backup, do it. Conch is good. My beef with the Conch, and same thing as my beef with the buff banner, is that the passive bonus it grants is only effective when you're landing your shots with it, right? Health back on hit is very powerful, but again, only if you're able to land your shots. So if your teammates suck, then this thing isn't going to do much to help you. The Conch is the most selfish of banners because it gives you passive health regen, and its passive benefits are usually the most useful for the soldier by himself. Because this allows for a soldier to like solo in on his own and then just keep firing off rockets while having a higher movement speed, health regen, and health back on hit. This is basically just Mad Milk on crack. And the thing is, the soldier's got splash damage and not a hit scan weapon, so it's even better than the Mad Milk in that regard. This thing's infinitely better than the Mad Milk, actually, because you don't have to throw it at somebody in order to get people wet. You just have to be near other people in order to get health back on hit. Ah, yes. And of course, Black Box Conch is a very good combination of items. But here's the thing about that, though. The problem with Black Box Conch, so at least from what I noticed, I keep fucking hitting my microphone. My problem with pairing the Black Box with banners is that it kind of forces you into a much more passive role, right? You really have to play with your team. Soldiers can normally overextend and not be too heavily punished for it, but when you're running the Black Box, you have 1 less rocket. Yeah, you get maximum 20 health back on hit. If you're by yourself, you're kind of fucked, usually, because that extra rocket really goes a long way. And even when the banner's active and you're running the Black Box with this thing, you get a fuckload of health back, but you only have 3 shots, right? Then you have to reload, then you're fucked. I'm not saying that it isn't good, but it's not, like, as insanely powerful as people make it out to be. It equals a support soldier, yeah. The Conch, Black Box, and Disciplinary Action is very much a support soldier. It allows him to overextend a little bit, but if he's not playing with his team, he can get mowed down pretty quickly. Unless he has the banner active, then he can basically run solo and never die. But you could already do that with stock rocket launcher, or even the Cow Mangler. Cow Mangler is really good with any banner. Altogether, I would say that the Concheror is just the weakest of the banners. That's my opinion. It's the weakest of the banners from a support perspective, like if you're playing with your team, because again, that passive bonus is only achieved if your team can aim and land shots. And the amount of health you get back scales with distance, right? Because you have damage fall off. So you're not getting that much health back unless you're already very close to your target. And if you're close to your target, they're gonna be able to do more damage to you. It's not as powerful as a pushing item as, say, the buff banner or the Battalion's backup. Just to close on this banner, it's the best solo banner option for soldier, weakest team play option for soldier, out of all 3 banners. The buff banner it hovers. The buff banner is really good when you have banner. Other than that, it's like, it's down here because this item has no passive buffs. So you're not really getting anything in return until you've actually managed to charge up. And because you have no passive buff, but its upsides are really fucking powerful, it kind of evens it out to like a really high B tier. Because when you get the mini crits with this thing and you're coordinated with your team, fuck. A good buff banner push just fucking, oh god, it fucking sucks. And you just die. Like, if the soldier's competent, he's able to hang back with his team. If you're buff bannering a fucking heavy that knows how to aim, god. Wow, it's really fucking strong. But when you don't have banner, you have nothing. And then once you get the buff banner's mini crits, unless you're coordinated with an offensive push, it's not gonna do that much. It's gonna be really fucking strong. And unless you have like 3 or 4 other competent players that again know how to aim, then this isn't gonna do anything for you. Battalions is weak to conch is weak to buff, banner, buffed is weak to Battalion's backup. I would disagree. I would say that the Battalion's backup is better than the Conch. Like, if you were to face off a set of Battalion's players against a group of Conch players, so the Conch gives you, what? 35%. Okay, yeah, so they get 35% health back on the damage they deal. But the problem with that is that your damage is scaling with distance. I don't know if that 35% is based off of the base damage of items, or if it actually takes fall off into account. I've not tested that. I should probably do that at some point. That would actually make for an interesting video. So, for example, that 35% of like a 49 damage rocket is really tiny. But then 35% of like a 90 damage rocket, that's 30 health. That's a lot more. Whereas with the Battalion's backup, it's always reducing damage by the same amount no matter what distance you're at. So 35% damage resistance is pretty much always going to be able to beat a 35% health back on hit unless you're at point blank range. Because at point blank range, that 35% damage resistance doesn't do all that much because damage ramp up offsets that a little bit. Then if you have the Conch, you're doing more damage so you get more health back. So at really close quarters, Conch beats Battalions, but at any other range than that, Battalions beats Conch. I don't, what do I do with this base jumper? The base jumper, it's just gonna be all the same arguments that I made for Demo Man, in that it's just, it's really bad. It just please give this thing some attention. It just, oh my god. The fact they removed the deploy, redeploy on this just made it infinitely weaker. Lazy made a good point about it being changed to be more consistent with TF2's movement philosophy, but it definitely got nerfed too much. See, I disagree. I think this weapon was completely fine. The movement philosophy behind TF2 is that it's run and gun, except in this thing, you're just hanging in the air, and when you hang in the air, you sacrifice your own significant mobility on the ground and with rocket jumping, especially with Soldier, right? If you're hanging in the air in any capacity, you're a fucking sitting duck to anything that's hit scan or someone that can do a well-placed pipe or rocket on you. You're fucked. The turn control this thing used to have was really fucking strong. I know they reduced that, which is good. The fact that you can't gain as much momentum, the fact you can't deploy and redeploy at will, makes this thing so hideously fucking weak that it's just completely useless with any rocket launcher. And this goes back to what I was saying about the Airstrike. This weapon, this item, was introduced to be paired with the Airstrike because it gives you more airtime in order to like volley out all of your rockets. But the problem with the base jumper is that you shoot yourself into the air, your target is here, you were originally here, you were gonna do more damage if you just stayed on the ground and kept the distance between you shorter. But then if you're up here, yeah, it gives you the high ground to shoot back down on people, but then you have damage fall off, so you're just shooting all around weaker rockets, especially with something like the Airstrike, and definitely the Beggars. This item still does have a small, tiny, insignificant shred of viability with Soldier, because he has a rocket launcher that doesn't have an arc, and it doesn't have a primer time like a sticky bomb launcher does. So if you can volley yourself into the air and not be seen by someone that can just pop you in the air with hit scan, if you're hanging in the air and you're not being abated in any way, you can just kind of fire off rockets at people at a distance, yeah, you can do kind of bits of chip damage and do stuff that way. But now the fact that you move so slow in the air with this thing, you can't deploy and redeploy to like prevent fall damage, and you still take blast damage with this thing to get yourself up in the air for something that's not nearly as beneficial as just a normal rocket jump with any other secondary. Sucks. How would I balance the parachute? Allow it to be deployed and redeployed at will. And also, yes, hit scan is a thing. Revert it, because even if they have that much air control, you could just have a heavy. You can just have a heavy just fucking at the guy and just completely fuck up his momentum, and then he'd be a sitting duck and die. You could have a scout do like 10 chip damage with 1 bullet shot out of his pistol and fuck his momentum. Hit scan fucks this thing, and it fucked the air. Yeah, fuck it. Put the air control back. Make it like a 20% reduced amount, not 50. Base jumper is just not good anymore. Put back at least one of its old attributes of either more air control or the ability to redeploy and deploy at will, because without both of those, it just sucks a lot of cock. Stock shovel, easily the worst melee on soldier. There's no point in using the stock shovel in comparison to any of its other melee items. Everything else is infinitely more useful. Even on a server with random crits enabled, you're better off using the escape plan because it's the escape plan. Why wouldn't you want to move nearly as fast as a scout if you have less than 50 health so you can bail out and not fucking die? Why wouldn't you use the whip to make your other teammates and yourself go faster at the beginning of a fight? In the shadow of all of the other melee items, the stock shovel is the absolute worst. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it. Just because it's worse than other melee options doesn't mean it needs some kind of a buff. But I will still say that in comparison to other melees, it sucks dick. Why would you ever use the stock shovel unless you're doing a stupid meme like, oh look, I killed a guy with a stock shovel, haha, I don't need the market guard, no, I got random quits on my side, and he fucking smacks someone's fucking molars out with the edge of it like, I got the guy with the stock shovel. That's all you're using this thing for. Or you just install the game. The man with the hat made the video. Fucking, oh my god, enough with the dupe shovel shit. You know what I hate the most? I think one of my biggest pet peeves is when people circle jerk the same stupid, annoying meme over and over again because one YouTuber said it. If that ever happens for me, right? Like, if I ever do something or coin a phrase or something that people incessantly spout at random, you know? Like fucking dupe shovel, demo night TF2, and all the other dumb things that float around and shit like that. If I ever coin a phrase like that, if that ever happens to me, let me know. I'm shutting it down. That's it. It's over. Everything is done. YouTube is done. Twitch is done. The doors are shut. Chains are on it. Don't dead enter inside. Yeah, XYZ gaming. Oh my god. Put a bullet in my fucking head. I'm so tired of that joke. Fuck. I hate it. It's like, oh my god, it's not funny anymore. It was funny for like 2 seconds, like, Obama gaming, haha, it's Obama playing a video game. Okay, yeah, you get like a chuckle out of it, and then you see it for like the 9,000th time, it's just, oh. It's like hearing the same fucking song on the radio over and over again, right? It's like, you're listening to, I don't know, Jump by Van Halen. You know, like, you're Jump by Van Halen. They play that shit on the radio all the fucking time, right? You listen to it once, like, oh man, I haven't heard this song in a while. I'm gonna listen to it. And it's like, man, this radio station plays good music. I'm gonna leave it on. And then, for the 9th time that day, they play Jump by Van Halen. And you wanna rip every hair out of your goddamn head. That's what these fucking repetitive jokes do for me. It's not funny anymore. It was funny the first, maybe the second time, but if you keep saying the same joke over and over and over and over again, it fucking sucks. I don't want to hear it anymore. It's not funny. You have to have like brain matter dribbling out of your ear to think that joke is funny anymore. Alright, Demo Man Gaming, and your fucking frontal cortex is dribbling out of your goddamn ear. Fuck! Like someone stuck a power drill up your goddamn ear canal and fucking slurry it about. Put the screw up your nose and wiggle it about and pull it out your nostrils. I'm over it. It's enough. Do I even need to be like, oh, this video is sponsored by... I don't really think I need to do that this time. I think you get the drill. Don't get sponsors because, yeah, I have a smaller channel and you don't get sponsorship requests that often unless you're like a huge channel with like at least like 500,000 subs. If you're not, then you just don't get that many. And even when you do get big, you just get, you know, sponsorship requests from stuff like Raid Shadow shit, and I'm not willing to sell my soul to the devil in any form or capacity, so fuck them. So I figured I'd read you guys a weird cooperation request that was sent to a friend of mine instead, just to show you how weird this shit can get. I am blank, working at Ewin International Corporation, a professional gaming chair and gaming desk company. Now we sincerely invite you to try one of our gaming chairs or RGB gaming desks, which you will find extremely awesome. What is, hold on, I have to see what this shit looks like. Whoa, that kind of looks cool. This could be you if you buy our product. You want to be a real... Okay, I'm going to channel Germa's fucking bit where he does the whole fucking Razor Death Adder. You guys want to be a real gamer where you can have your little Funko Pops and your RGB computer and monitor and keyboard and chair? Well, you guys got to shop at ewinracing.com, where you can be the best gamer, you can have the edge in your game, be the top of the line gamer if you just buy our fucking overpriced chairs. Yeah? This is just a glorified folding table, but they got a pink one for the ladies. Ladies, they're thinking about you. That's $400? What? It's a $400. Can I change it to like a standing desk height? If it's not a standing, if I can't change this shit to a standing desk, that's some bullshit. This is so fucking bad. What is this? Who would spend money on this? That's just Pepto-Bismol pink, man. Oh, of course, it's got the anime girl on it for you anime enthusiasts. Hero! Oh yeah, fucking Hero series! So I gotta fucking like flex our muscles, be like a hero guy, play the fucking video game. Fucking don't. Also, by the way, if you ever get one of these weird sponsorships, they usually make you buy the product with your own money first, and then they'll reimburse you after you've given them the review, but they'll probably only do that if you give them a positive review, so it basically just shoehorns you into giving a positive rating on a product you bought in order to get your money back for it. So don't ever fall for this kind of shit. If you ever get to the position where you're like, oh, I can get paid to sponsor a product, make sure you actually like and use the product you're sponsoring if you don't want to look like a disingenuous piece of shit. So, if you want to support me in a more direct fashion so I don't have to drag myself through 1.5 miles of broken glass, Lego bricks, and burning hot lava to get $1 in my pocket, head on over to my Patreon. That would be greatly appreciated. Thank you, all you patrons. All, like, I don't know, can I do names around me? We can do that. Little jazz hands, the names around me. Oh, that's good shit. And you can also support me by just watching this video, leaving a like, or commenting, doing all the usual shit that the YouTube algorithms really like for you to do in order to promote a video. And hey, if you liked it, then you like it. If you don't like it, then fucking just don't do anything. That's like, if you hate me and if you didn't like my content, why are you still here? Thanks again, guys, and let's keep going with this absolute shit show of a tier list, because it's really fucking long and I don't know when to shut my goddamn mouth. Also, stop by my Twitch channel if you want to watch the tier list live at 2:45 p.m. US Central Time every Thursday. We have 5 more to go now, because we have 6 more to go. I did 3, we have 6. We have 6 more to go. Can't do math. Stop on by, should be fun. Cow Mangler? Yeah, we can do the Cow Mangler. So a lot of people consider the Cow Mangler as a direct upgrade to the stock rocket launcher, and I completely disagree with that notion, unless you're playing MVM or unless you're playing 6v6. In any other scenario, the Cow Mangler, in my opinion, is always just a downgrade from any rocket launcher. One of the soldier's most powerful tactics is to be able to counter an engineer from a distance. You cannot do that with this thing. And people say, oh, but you can disable a building with a charge shot. But yeah, you sacrifice your entire clip for one rocket to disable a building for what, 4 seconds? It's not that big of a trade-off, right? And even then, he can still be actively healing the sentry gun while it's disabled. And the only building that you're going to be disabling is a sentry gun. You wouldn't ever use that charge shot on a dispenser or a teleporter unless you're insane. Why would I ever think that the tactic of disabling a sentry gun with a fully charged shot would be more useful than just shooting 2 or 3 rockets at an engineer nest, doing more damage to the gun, the engineer, and his surrounding buildings and teammates more than the Cow Mangler would? Unless you have your team backing you up, and it's like, okay guys, I disabled the building, you can push in now. And then, yeah, you can do that in like a casual setting, but when does that kind of team coordination ever exist inside of a casual game, unless you're like in a voice call with people? Rescue Ranger cannot affect disabled sentries? Did not know that. Okay, but still, he's still able to repair it. But even then, shooting rockets is infinitely more effective because you're damaging multiple buildings and the engineer and surrounding teammates instead of just the teammates. If someone's not following you up, that charge shot is useless. Congratulations, you've dealt 12 damage to the sentry gun. Oh, but it doesn't have an ammo penalty. And again, like I've just been saying, their ammo is rarely an issue inside of the casual setting because there are so many different ammo sources. Fallen ammo packs, the payload cart, engineer dispensers, right? Oh, but you could do, it destroys sticky bombs. Yeah, a charge shot destroys sticky bombs. Why would I ever sacrifice 4 rockets to destroy sticky bombs when I can do that with a shotgun or knock them away with 1 rocket? Oh, but the charge shot sets people on fire and does there's a mini crit. You can fire off 2 rockets and do more damage than the charge shot can. There's no adequately justifiable reason to ever use the Cow Mangler as a more viable alternative to any other rocket launcher unless you're just dicking around, which is fun. It is very satisfying to just vomit off a charge shot and then you just like one-shot a guy. Like, where the fuck did that come from? And yet you see a soldier just fucking like jerking off as he's reloading his rocket launcher. That shit's funny. That never gets old for me. That's the only time you're gonna find me using the Cow Mangler is doing the charge shot bullshit from across the map and just fucking one poor soul over. But in any other scenario, it's just not as good as any other rocket launcher. But it's a rocket launcher, so it's still good. One Cow Mangler charge shot is 151 damage at point blank. Max fall off on a Cow Mangler shot, because it's just a mini crit rocket, is like 121, 122 damage. So the only time you're gonna be doing more damage than 2 rockets is when you're inside of someone's hitbox. And even if you are inside of someone's hitbox, you're standing still. You're charging up. You can't fucking move. It's like, fuck, I'm charging this thing. Please fire faster. And then you die. Now's the opportunity to use my laser gun. And then you get fucking railed by the people who are still able to walk. People are really wanting me to do the Beggars. I know that there's a lot of Beggars Bazooka enthusiasts. The Beggars Bazooka is to the soldier like the loose cannon is to the demo man. When you're just starting out with the Beggars Bazooka, it's not as good as any other rocket launcher. It takes a long time to get good with this weapon. But once you get good with the Beggars, it's scary what you can do. The mobility this thing grants if you pair it with gunboats is fucking nuts. There is a streamer, I cannot for the life of me remember this guy's name, but I think he only ever played Beggar's Bazooka Soldier with the Market Gardener and the Gunboats. And every time he would go live, that's all he would play. And he would only play on Badwater. And he was insane. It was fucking Blind Pyro. That's the guy, Blind Pyro. He's fucking insane with his gun. Once you get to that level with this item, you don't need to use any other rocket launcher because you're already a god at the game. The skill curve on the loose cannon and the Beggars are super fucking steep. Once you start out, it's like, okay, yeah, I can understand how to use this thing. But once you get past that little hump, it's like, oh, fuck, this is really hard to get good at. And then once you're up here, you're done. Yeah, you're set. And there's two ways to kind of play with this item. The first way is the, God of Soldier way, and that's pairing it with gunboats in either the Escape Plan or the Market Gardener, and you're just only going berserk with, chaining jumps and raining down rockets and doing a whole bunch of other crazy shit with it. That's the epic way to play. The more passive way to play, and the way that I usually play, because I'm not that good at the game, is I usually pair the Beggars with I usually pair with the Battalion's backup. It's okay with Conch, but again, it suffers because you have to actually land shots in order to get health back, so why would I do that with the Beggars that has random deviation on its shots? Normally, I'm using this thing for just big flurries of burst damage on players that I pretty much know are gonna be somewhere. And then, as soon as you know a player's there, you have the added upside in what most people use this weapon for. You have faster, base firing, you can reload and fire a rocket faster than you can with just any other rocket launcher. It's comparable to the base firing speed of the stock rocket launcher if you just reload and fire one rocket over and over again. Let's move on to this piece of shit. So, yeah, Righteous Bison. Why did they do this poor motherfucker dirty? It's just, oh man, it is so sad that they nerfed the Bison. It was totally fine before. It was like the fun laser gun. There were no problems with this thing. I had so much fun using this. I have a very vivid memory from 2012. I was playing a Skyle Lakeside server, and I managed to convince the entire server everyone was using the Righteous Bison. Oh my god, it was so fucking fun. And then Valve said, oh yeah, it was a bug that this thing was meant to penetrate players. Also, we slowed down the projectile speed. What? Well, they slowed down the projectile speed by 30%, and then they made it have even further reduced damage when it penetrated players. Oh my god, why did they do that? They could have left the damage the way it is now and not nerf the projectile speed, and then it would have been fine. But it moves so fucking slow. Oh my god. It's useless. It's worse than any shotgun. It's so bad. Gargle, get some non fucking Newtonian fluid or something, gargle it for a bit and try to swallow. That's what it's like using the Righteous Bison. You're just fucking like, it won't go down, not getting down, and you just die. That's it. You can't get shots off fast enough. They move too slow. You do no damage. You just fucking die. And then they buffed it again in 2017 by just giving it more. They buffed its velocity, and then they said, and also projectiles are no longer limited on the number of times they can hit the same target. So they can hit the same target twice, but it's only effective when it's backing up. So they increased the projectile speed, made it hit players multiple times, which means that it's not gonna hit players multiple times because it has a faster projectile speed unless they're backing up. And it's still painfully slow. Just put it back. The old version was fun. It was fine. It had comparable damage output to a stock shotgun. It had no combo viability with any rocket launcher. It was just a fun, like, little, like, okay, out of rockets, fuck it, laser gun time. Get some, like, nice little red hats say make the righteous Bison great again, but perhaps, like, the genuine green color. Let's get a melee out of the way. Let's do Pain Train. I mean, the Pain Train works on Soldier, but it's not that great because, one, Soldier is slow, so if he's suddenly pitted in a fight against the hit scan class, that 10% damage penalty against bullets is going to be really impactful against him. I mean, the Pain Train works on Soldier, but it's not that great because, one, Soldier is slow, so if he's suddenly pitted in a fight against the hit scan class, that 10% damage penalty against bullets is going to be really impactful against him. So it's going to hurt him a lot more often than it would, say, a demo man who could run a shield and get out of the effective range of a hit scan class and be totally fine. So it's going to hurt him a lot more often than it would, say, a demo man who could run a shield and get out of the effective range of a hit scan class and be totally fine. The only instance where I can see this item being, like, super useful is, like, bombing into a payload cart that's right on the edge of the bomb pit, or, like, right onto a last point that's almost capped, and then you have this thing out and you cap it twice as fast. Yeah, I could see that working, but as it stands now, it's just not that good on Soldier. The 10% damage should only be when using it. See, I disagree. The 10% damage vulnerability to be bullets should be active all the time. Your double capping speed is also always active all the time. The item doesn't need to be out in order for you to cap twice as fast. So if they were to actually make that change, the double capping time would only be active when the item is active. Therefore, then that damage penalty should be active. That might actually be a better change to it. Change the Pain Train so it's double capping speed is only active when the weapon is active, and the damage penalty is also only active when the weapon is active. That would actually be good, right? Because when you have this thing equipped, you have the double capping speed, but you're still able to, like, fully defend the point with your weapons, right? So force them to have it out and make that double capping active, and that forces them to strategize with it and only use it when they know they can securely get that cap. The whip, yeah, the whip is easily, I would say, one of the best melee options for Soldier right now. If you're not running the escape plan or the market gardener because you're good with the market gardener, you're using the whip. The speed bonus that this thing grants you is invaluable. Being able to get to the fight faster is an infinite advantage you can have over the enemy team. That's why teleporters are so effective, right? It is easily one of the most versatile and widely used weapons for the Soldier because it's just so fucking good. It's crazy how much influence you can have with just this melee item with your team. Getting your whole fucking team out there to the fight faster is wild. And that's why it's also banned in sixes, because if one team's using it, the other team's at an automatic disadvantage and they're forced to use it. This ban makes sense in sixes and also other forms of competitive. And so yeah, the disciplinary action doesn't just make heavy get to mid faster, it makes all classes get to mid faster at no sacrifice to the Soldier or any of the other classes, because what Soldier in competitive mode is actively using is melee, unless he's using the escape plan to get out of a fight, or if he's using the market gardener to get a one-hit kill because he can actually secure it. Inside of competitive mode, this thing's broken. Inside of casual mode, it's almost broken. It's super fucking good. Not to mention, like I saw someone mention, it has really janky hitboxes, so you don't even have to be close to somebody, and you can hit people behind you with it. The reduced damage on this thing, I don't think is enough. It should be like give it like a 50% damage penalty. Then this thing would still be used. It would still be good. What if Soldier's marked for death? No, that's not good. No, he would just, then there'd be no point in using this item ever, because as soon as you whip it out, in order to move faster, you die, right? It's like, and it works better for something like the escape plan. I'll put that up here too. Escape plan is better than the disciplinary action, because the mini crits on this thing make it balanced, because you're only pulling this thing out when you yourself need to get the fuck out, right? You're never whipping out the escape plan if you're losing a fight. And if you are, you're just guaranteed to die. Unless you can actually juke out the person that you're losing to, like another soldier, like, okay, he just ran out of, he's out of rockets, I'm out of rockets, I'm out of health disadvantage, I'm fucking bailing out. And then you can whip it out. But if you're losing a fight against a scout and you whip out this thing, you're fucking dead. You're whipping out this thing when you know you can get out faster to get to a health kit and you don't die. The escape plan is the best melee item for Soldier, hands down. down just because of how insanely powerful it is for a soldier to have faster movement speed at low health to get to a health kit. Actually, I'm gonna bump the whip up higher because it's still kind of, it still dangerously treads on broken territory. And for that, I'm going to actually put it at the top of A tier. This weapon dangerously treads in on broken territory because of how influential and good it is. This is the best melee in terms of soldier, and it's fairly well balanced, right? You can't get healed when you have it out. You can only get health from health packs. The only thing, and yeah, you bring up a good point, is this thing should either have a damage nerf or it shouldn't have random crits. The fact you can move at Mach 9 and still smack someone with a random crit is fucking stupid. Because that's the thing too, right? You can say, okay, I just lost this fight, you know, I can either bail out or I can start running as fast as a scout now and get a random crit and win. You shouldn't be allowed to do that. Okay, Equalizer. It's just not great. The weapon's not broken. It does what it's supposed to do, but it's just really underwhelming in comparison to all of the better melee options in the game. You can use it how you're supposed to, like if you're at low health and you say, fuck it, I'm gonna die anyway, I'm gonna whip this thing out and do over 100 damage on some guy and just smack him with it. Yeah, you can do that. You're right. If you suddenly find yourself in like a melee 1v1, yeah, you can do that too. So you're either using this as like your last resort ditch weapon to like say, fuck it, I'm low on health. If I manage to land a swing on this guy, he might die because I chewed out half his health or more. Or if you get a random crit at low health, it's a one-shot kill on everything. It has its own little nice niche, so I think it's okay. You don't need to change it. You can fuck around with it. You can try to use it and do something with it. It's not great. Okay, so the fucking half Zatoichi on soldier was only good when random crits were enabled on this thing. Ever since they removed random crits on this weapon, it's just not that good on soldier. It's infinitely better on demo because demo night. On soldier, this is again like a last ditch, fuck it, whipping this out, probably gonna die, can't put it away now unless I damage myself, or I have low enough health where I can't even put it away. If I manage to get a kill off with this thing, I don't die. And then you're good. Otherwise, use any other melee option. Oh no, I completely agree. The old half Zatoichi with fucking random crits, that shit was broken because you can just get all your health back. It's like, whoop, one shot kill and I get all my health back. Fuck it. There was zero risk in using the old half Zatoichi on soldier because you can just whip this motherfucker out like, okay, not gonna die, and then you just one shot a guy and you get your health back and they die. Now you can't one shot people, so you're taking damage as you wail on them with the sword and you're still likely gonna die. Give it a power jack speed boost? No. Giving a soldier an on-demand speed boost would be really fucking strong because the soldier's balanced by his slow speed, so him being able to move faster and cover ground more quickly at no real strong penalty, like a rocket jump forces you to do, and you get more distance with rocket jumps usually at a more fair trade-off of having to sacrifice one shot in your clip and health in order to do it. Whereas with the half Zatoichi, you just pull it out and you can just put it away if you know you're close to a health kit or you have a medic healing you. Not a good idea. Half Zatoichi, firmly placed in D tier. I would say you could probably make an argument that it's more effective. Yeah, it's probably more effective than the Equalizer because it's always doing the same thing. Nah, it's D tier. It's high D tier for the Zatoichi. So let's get the rocket jumper out of the way. Rocket jumper's cool. You can meme with it. You can do trollger. If you're good at rocket jumping and you're good with the market gardener, yeah, you can smack people left and right with it and go crazy. But if you're trying to do it in any serious capacity, like if you're trying to play the game in any like real viable way, then this is just not what you're supposed to use. If you're just dicking around on like high tower or something, or if you're just going for market gardener kills and you're using like a shotgun or the the Manntreads, then yeah, this thing's fun. It's fun. This is just the fun wacky item, right? Beyond that, it's the rocket jumper. This one's just the one you're using if you're playing with the market gardener, which I guess we can do next. Market gardener is very fucking good. I would consider the market gardener is like bottom of A tier. Having a crit on demand is insanely good, and the way you earn the crit with the market gardener, I think, is very well balanced because you sacrifice health, you sacrifice one shot in your clip, and you sacrifice not being able to use a high damage primary weapon with splash damage in order to secure a kill. You have to know that you're gonna get that melee hit on the guy, and you have to time it perfectly while you're in the air. Otherwise you swing, you miss, or the crit doesn't register, and then you have a slower firing speed on it, and then you have to go back to your primary, and then you die or take a lot of damage as a result for nothing. If you get practice with this item, it pushes on broken. And the old version of this item that didn't have the swing speed penalty on it was a little busted, because if you miss your first swing and you got like the base damage on it, you can immediately follow up with another full damage swing and still probably kill the guy, especially if it was a light class. But now that slower swing speed really punishes a soldier if he misses that first swing, and that's exactly what it needed. Let's do the stock rocket launcher, I guess. So stock rocket launcher is easily just just your go-to option. It's the best out of all of his primaries. You know what it's gonna do. It's your bread and butter, just really good rocket launcher. It's what else is there to say, right? One thing that I'm still kind of mixed on about recent changes to the rocket launcher is that they made it so the projectiles don't pass through teammates beyond close range, which I guess is what it needed, so you can't spam rockets through your team to, hit people that you didn't even see. Yeah, that was probably a necessary change given that soldier spam tends to be insanely powerful. That tweak to all rocket launchers was definitely needed, but it can be kind of frustrating sometimes, right? Like if you've lined up a shot, right, and you can hit a guy, but then suddenly one of your teammates walks in front of you, and then it just blocks your shot, I get pissed, because the minimum distance at which that happens isn't that far away. And at that kind of that range of closer areas where that blocking happens, that area is like the frustration zone. Like that area pisses me off. It's like, fuck, I should have hit that, but my fucking scout just jumped in front of my rocket and I missed it, and then you die. But at like far range, further off, you're just spamming rockets into like a team fight. Yeah, it shouldn't be able to pass through your own teammates and then deal damage. So I think that change for those scenarios was fine. Beyond that, hey, it's the good old reliable bread and butter stock rocket launcher. You're gonna be the most effective with this thing in comparison to any other rocket launcher, unless you get stupid good with the beggars. Every other rocket launcher, in my opinion, just pales in comparison. Stock is the best and pretty much will always be the best unless they make some kind of detrimental change to it. Let's do the gunboats next. Gunboats are stupid good. Note how we have the stereotypical competitive soldier loadout nicely lined up in the row up here in A tier. Gunboats are stupid good. It's one of the soldier's best secondary items in the game. A more mobile soldier is stupid scary good. You can't beat it. Stock gunboats and like a good melee is just really effective. It's powerful, it's strong, and that's it. What else is there more to say? A highly mobile soldier who can rocket jump and not chew out all of his health, who can bomb in and be more mobile, pick his fights, zip around, all that jazz. Man, easily just one of the best items for soldier. If I like my own personal preference, I more or less much prefer banners or a shotgun over gunboats, because being highly mobile is very good and very powerful, but I find myself to be a far more effective team player whenever I'm using a shotgun or gunboats. Speaking of I was gonna do the shotgun next. Shotgun is the stock shotgun is just good. I'm not gonna put it in A tier because of how powerful the gunboats can be and how powerful other banners can be. And no, actually no, I'm gonna put it at top of B tier. Combo soldier with a shotgun is good. It's, again, stock shotgun on any class that has it is just old reliable. You know how much damage it's gonna do. You understand its bullet spread. You understand what you gotta do to make it good. You know what you got to work with it. All around, nice, versatile. It's a good follow-up item. If you're caught out against a pyro, you can whip it out. It's, what else can I say? NG soldier, pyro, heavy. That's the shotgun tier list for the classes. No, I disagree. I would say that it's soldier, pyro, NG, heavy. Shotgun is useless on heavy. Engineer, it's marginally useful, but his other shotgun options are way better. Pyro, a shotgun is just always good because of pyro v pyro, and also comboing it with your air blast is just good on pyro. And then comboing it by being able to pop people in the air with the rocket and then whipping out that shotgun is just the classic bread and butter fucking good tactic to use. It is indeed amazing for finishing off your opponents, and that's why I gotta put the reserve shooter as higher than the stock shotgun, because as a finisher weapon, the reserve shooter is infinitely better than the stock shotgun. There is no real detriment to using the reserve shooter over the stock shotgun, because if you can secure your hit, then you don't need to worry about having 2 less shots, right? Having those 2 fewer shots only makes a significant difference if you end up being in like a long drawn out fight. If you're caught out in a long drawn out fight, then yeah, you're kind of fucked with this thing because you don't have 2 extra shots to work with. But if you've already managed to juice out 4 shots and you miss all of them anyway, then you deserve to die. But the reserve shooter on soldier is stupid fucking good. It's infinitely more powerful combo weapon than the panic attack or the stock shotgun. To the point where I think it might need some kind of a tweak. If I were to make some tweaks to the reserve shooter, a while back, they made a change to the reserve shooter that before you had a very short amount of time, a very small time window in which the mini crits were active on the target that just got popped into the air. They increased that time window. So now when you pop someone into the air, you have a pretty significant amount of time to land multiple mini crit shots on the same target. That's when this thing can be kind of broken. Because if you pop someone into the air high enough and they're a high health class, you can pump 2 mini crit shotgun shots into them. And they can't really do anything about it because they just got popped into the air by a rocket. So I think a more comfortable change with this thing would be to reduce that time window back down to be much shorter. So that faster switching speed does reward you for comboing, but if you fuck up that first shot, you don't deserve the mini crit. Having be able to do that double mini crit pushes this weapon to be the best shotgun for soldier. Reduce that time window, you've properly balanced this item. Yeah, and reserve shooter completely nerfs the parachute. And see, I don't like that. I don't like that other players' explosive jumps count as mini crits for your shotgun. It shouldn't do that. They should remove that as well. The mini crits should only count for rockets that you've used that have popped people into the air. So the direct hit's up here. It's like around here. The direct hit is very good. And for the most part, it's a very balanced item. You exchange faster rockets and higher damage for effectively no blast radius. So you become an insanely effective single target demolition guy. Airshotting with this thing is really satisfying. Punishing other people for jumping is, I personally don't like it, but whenever I find myself getting killed by a direct hit soldier because I rocket jumped, they kind of deserve the hit because they managed to land a direct hit on somebody who's in the air. It's that nice, it just gently resides in that little cup of like skill and being overpowered, right? Kind of like where Sniper resides, right? Sniper kind of spills out more often than the direct hit does, right? Because with the direct hit, it's a projectile, you have to lead your shots, you gotta, predict where they're gonna go and actually manage to land the shot. Whereas with Sniper, it's across the map hit scan where people don't have any time to react. But if you can't place a projectile shot and land the direct hit, you just miss and do no damage at all. Direct hit is the perfect weapon that uses mini crits to reward someone, if you ask me. Yeah, I would say that it's easily the closest item, like the Market Gardener, that rewards players with extra damage by like being able to do something that is normally very difficult to do. That is at high risk to themselves in exchange for other things that they are normally able to do. With a direct hit, you have to either get someone airborne with the first shot to then follow up with the second shot to get the mini crit, or you have to time your shot just right on someone who has jumped to where you can't easily predict where they're gonna go, and then you fire off that shot and get that mini crit. In those regards, it's very much balanced to have that skill versus reward item, and again, unlike the Sniper, who doesn't have to sacrifice anything if he misses a shot. Direct hit needs a nerf in terms of fighting buildings. It made sense when it first came out because people sucked at fighting sentries. These days, it's too good. Change the universal damage boost to be against players only. It wouldn't be the worst, but I'm not a fan of it because here's why. Actually, yeah, you know what? I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of that idea. Here's why. Because a soldier is only useful against an engineer if he can see him when he's using the direct hit. If the engineer is not in the soldier's line of sight, if his buildings aren't in his line of sight, the direct hit is useless. It can do nothing. Unlike a rocket launcher, where you don't even have to have the target visible because splash damage can make up for that lack of direct hit, and you can fire off 2 or 3 rockets and still take down the building that way. I was having this discussion with Cosmic Afro not too long ago because Cosmic Afro initially thought that the direct hit was a really powerful upgrade in terms of, it being super strong against engineers, but most of the time, the stock rocket launcher is going to be infinitely better against engineers because you have splash damage, right? You can shoot a wall, you can shoot the ground, you can shoot a ceiling if he's in an enclosed area, right? You work off so much damage from splash that's not just hitting the building, it's hitting the engineer, his other buildings, and the sentry gun all at the same time to where he can't keep up, and then he's gonna fucking die. An engineer is more readily able to protect himself and his buildings against a direct hit soldier because that direct hit rocket is only hitting one thing at a time. So despite the fact that it can two-shot any building, I still consider it infinitely weaker because you're not hitting multiple targets at the same time. A direct hit against engineers is totally fine because you sacrifice being able to take down the engineer and all of his buildings in 3 shots for being able to take down 1 building in 2 shots. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk. Oh, but a 1-shot's minis though. Okay, so what? It's a fucking mini sentry. Who cares? He builds another one in 2 seconds anyway. Let's do the Manntreads. So yeah, I would say that Manntreads are C tier in that they're useful. Like, if you want to be able to have that higher turn control while bombing in on like a target of your choice, this is going to give that to you. Pyros aren't going to be able to air blast you away if they see you coming in. This just makes soldier bombing a lot more powerful in the exchange for losing the same amount of health as you normally would if you're not using the gunboats. And also less pushback. So I would consider these to be fairly okay. Most of the time, the Manntreads are only used on Soldier, and yeah, I understand that because you're rocket jumping and you need better turn control so you can land Market Gardener swings, so I get that. But I think a lot of people underutilize the Manntreads using any kind of rocket launcher quite often. Like, I often use the fucking Manntreads with the Airstrike or the Liberty Launcher pretty often. And yeah, I do agree, Manntreads are pretty underrated outside of Soldier. I'm kind of surprised they aren't used more often. I recommend trying to use the Manntreads on something like the Airstrike or the Liberty Launcher. You'd be pretty surprised as to what you can do. And when I put them in C tier, I'm not saying it's better than the Airstrike. I would say they're about on par with each other. I think Soldier mobility is too good. The self-damage he takes in order to get that mobility is what balances it out, you know, because by the time he lands, because of that mobility, he's likely at half health or less, unless he's using the gunboats and manages to get to a health kit. Liberty Launcher. So Liberty Launcher kind of resides in C tier. It's easily the weakest rocket launcher option because that 25% damage penalty just fucking sucks. It's so bad. 67 damage rockets at point blank medium range are just so pitiful. It's the weakest spam. It's the weakest in mid-range fights. Close range fights, yeah, it's pretty good against light classes like a scout because you have that extra shot and if you're landing splash on them anyways, it fucks over scouts pretty good. But beyond that, it's like a Nerf gun. It's the fucking Nerf gun for Soldier. It's just The faster projectile speed does make it a little bit easier to hit direct hits, so you do make up for damage a little bit that way because you can land direct hits a little bit more reliably, but you can still have fun with it. I like using the Liberty Launcher with the reserve shooter because you have more chances to combo because you have an extra rocket, and you make up for that lack of damage on the first shot with your rocket by the mini crit on the reserve shooter. Like the full airborne armaments set with the Liberty Launcher, the reserve shooter, and the Market Gardener is still pretty fun. The fact that this thing doesn't have a reduced blast radius is probably its only saving grace. If this thing had a reduced blast radius, it would be so much worse. But since it has the same blast radius as the stock rocket launcher, it still keeps it in that useful area. Any balance ideas for the Liberty Launcher? No, I don't think it really needs one. It's just kind of, it forces you to really rely on your secondary, or it forces you to rely more on your mobility with rocket jumps, especially if you're using the gunboats, right? You're not going to want to use this thing with a banner because you're going to charge your banners 25% slower. Okay, black box. I'm going to put the black box kind of, I don't know, where do I put you? I'm gonna put it at the top of B tier. The old version of the black box, where you didn't have a cap at how much health you could get back, that was really fucking stupid broken. But now that it has a 20 health cap per shot, that puts it right into the nice balanced territory that it needs to be, and it forces Soldier to play a lot more passively. And it's the best rocket launcher, in my opinion, to pair with most banners, aside from the buff banner, because, you know, why would you do that to yourself? But yeah, it forces Soldier to play more passively, play more with his team, relies a little bit more on choke spam in order to make use of that health. In a drawn out, close range fight, it's gonna be a lot weaker, because you don't have that extra rocket. You can, at most, get 60 health back, but if you're playing against a competent player, you're still probably gonna die. But if you're playing with your team, playing with a banner, that's where the black box really, really shines. It's the weakest offensive rocket launcher for Soldier, hands down. It definitely pushes Soldier into a more defensive territory. I've seen some people rock the black box with a shotgun, and yeah, I guess you can do that, but you have fewer opportunities to rocket jump, fewer opportunities to use a combo, and at the end of the day, you're just gonna find yourself caught out more often without a shot. If you're trying to use a shotgun, it's like, shit, I just fired 2 rockets, use my shotgun, oh shit, I only have 1 rocket left, either I shoot again or rocket jump, and then I have nothing left. The fact you have to reload more often makes it a very weak offensive choice. But defensively, or with your team, solid. Because you're only pretty much using your rocket launcher, so you're always firing and reloading over and over again. And yeah, pairing this with the Battalion's backup with that 20 extra health, again, like the full tank buster set, is great. I highly recommend you try that out. It is fun, it is good, it is solid. We've come to the last one. And that's the panic attack. I'm gonna put it up here. Panic attack's probably the second best option for soldier in terms of his shotguns. Because if you're playing on a server with random bullet spread, use the panic attack. The faster switching speed and the higher damage at close range make it a very good combo weapon over the shotgun. I find that the reserve shooter trumps this one more often because of the mini crits you can pull off with it, and you can chain multiple mini crits in the air on the same target. Whereas with this, you can't really chain consecutive shots because you get that wider spread, and if targets are further away, this thing makes up for that damage at medium to far range where this item loses it. Panic attack with the Gardener is nutty. Oh yeah, like if you land a Market Gardener, then follow up with like the panic attack on like a high health class, like an overhealed soldier or a heavy. Oh man, 195, 102, so whatever it is. Fuck. I still find that the panic attack is the best option for pyro because, again, like I said in my tier list video, you're usually playing within the effective range where this is always going to be more powerful than the stock shotgun. Soldier has no OP weapon. I would say that, here, we'll do this. I would say that the candidates for OP weapons are the Disciplinary Action and the Escape Plan, but they're not quite there. Like, if I were to kind of keep them up here, you know, it's just nothing in here really is in the broken territory. Yeah, there you go. So that's the soldier, guys. We did it.